Dr. Katie Morrison walked through the medical bay of the Horizon's Edge with her usual morning coffee in hand. The ship had been stationed near Beacon 7 for 3 weeks now, and the routine had become comfortable. Too comfortable, perhaps. In space, comfort often meant trouble was coming. She was reviewing patient files when the emergency alert sounded. Her coffee cup hit the desk as she jumped to her feet. The communication system crackled to life. Dr. Morrison, we have an urgent situation in Docking Bay 3. Alien patient, critical condition. Katie grabbed her medical kit and ran. Her heart pounded as she made her way through the corridors. Alien patients were rare. Most species had their own medical facilities and preferred their own doctors. For someone to bring an alien here meant desperation. When she arrived at the docking bay, she stopped short. 6 massive figures stood around a medical transport pod. They were Crythians, the warrior race that controlled most of this sector. Each one stood over 7 feet tall, with dark blue skin and armor that looked like it had seen 100 battles. One of them stepped forward. His armor bore marks of high rank. "You are the healer, Morrison?" he asked in heavily accented English. "I am." "What's the situation?" The warrior gestured to the pod. "Commander Zarthok is dying. We were told you are skilled. Our own doctors have failed." Katie approached the pod and looked inside. The alien warrior lying there was even larger than his companions. His breathing was shallow and irregular. His skin had turned a sickly gray color. She could see his chest moving in an odd rhythm, like something inside was struggling. "What happened to him?" she asked. "Poison," the warrior said. 3 days ago. Our medical staff tried everything. Nothing works. The poison attacks his hearts. He has perhaps 1 day left." Katie opened her scanner and began taking readings. Crythian biology was complex. They had 3 hearts, a redundant respiratory system, and blood that carried oxygen in a completely different way than human blood. She had studied their anatomy in medical school, but seeing it in person was different. The readings confirmed what she feared. The poison was shutting down his cardiovascular system bit by bit. His 3 hearts were failing in sequence. When the last one stopped, he would be dead. "Bring him to Medical Bay 2, she ordered. "I need to run more tests." The Crythians moved quickly, carrying their commander with surprising gentleness. Katie ran ahead to prepare the medical bay. She cleared out 2 standard beds and pushed them together to accommodate the warrior's size. Her assistant, Jenny Baker, helped set up the monitoring equipment. "Is that really a Crythian commander?" Jenny whispered. "Yes. Now focus." For the next 6 hours, Katie worked to understand the poison. She took blood samples, ran chemical analyses, and consulted every medical database she could access. The poison was sophisticated, designed specifically to target Crythian biology. It bonded with the proteins in their blood and slowly strangled their hearts from the inside. She tried every antidote she knew. Nothing worked. The poison was too well designed. Whoever created it understood Crythian biology perfectly. Katie sat back in frustration. Her eyes burned from staring at screens. Jenny brought her another coffee. "Any progress?" Jenny asked. "No. This poison is unlike anything I've seen. It's almost like it was made by someone who knew every possible treatment we might try." "No. So what do we do?" Katie looked at the dying warrior. Around him, his men stood watch in silence. They had not left his side. She understood then what this meant to them. This was not just their commander. He was their leader, perhaps their friend. "I need to think differently," Katie said. "We can't treat the poison directly, but maybe we can treat what it does." She pulled up the analysis again. The poison worked by bonding to specific proteins in Crythian blood. Once bonded, it created toxic compounds that attacked heart tissue. But what if she could introduce something that would break those bonds? Katie began searching through biochemical databases. She needed an enzyme that could disrupt the poison's molecular structure. Hours passed. Her back ached. Her eyes grew heavy. but she kept searching. Then she found something interesting. A paper written 5 years ago by a researcher on Earth. It discussed unique enzyme combinations found in human blood that could break down certain types of molecular bonds. The paper was theoretical, never tested. But it was the only lead she had. Katie ran new simulations, comparing human blood enzymes to the poison structure. The results made her sit up straight. It could work. Human blood contained enzymes that might be able to break the bonds holding the poison together. But there was a problem. A huge problem. The amount of blood needed would be enormous. Zarthok weighed nearly 400 pounds. His body contained 3 times as much blood as a human. To introduce enough enzymes to make a difference, she would need massive quantities of human blood. Their ship's blood bank did not have that much. Even if they pooled every unit of every type, it would not be enough. And there was no time to request a supply ship. Katie stood and walked to the window. Outside, she could see other ships docked at Beacon 7. Among them was the small survey ship that belonged to Danny Chen. Danny had just returned from a 2-week mapping mission. He would be in his quarters, probably sleeping. She pulled up his medical file. Danny was O-negative, the universal donor. But more than that, his blood work showed something unusual. He had a genetic marker that produced elevated levels of the exact enzymes she needed. His blood was not just compatible. It was perfect. But taking enough blood from one person to save Zarthok would be dangerous. It might cause permanent damage. It could even kill Danny. Katie closed her eyes. This was an impossible choice. Risk one life to save another. And not just any life. If Zarthok died, the political consequences would be severe. The Krithian Empire already viewed humans with suspicion. If their commander died in human care, they might see it as an act of war. She thought about the peace treaty. About the thousands of human colonies that depended on Krithian tolerance. About the fact that humans were still newcomers in this part of space. Weak and vulnerable. Then she thought about Danny. He was a good man. Kind. Brave. The kind of person who volunteered for dangerous survey missions because someone had to do it. Would he volunteer for this? Katie made her decision. She had to ask. She had to give him the choice. She left the medical bay and made her way to the crew quarters. Danny's door was marked with a small nameplate. She knocked. It took a moment, but the door opened. Danny stood there in casual clothes, his hair messy from sleep. He looked confused. "Dr. Morrison?" "What's wrong?" "Danny, I need to talk to you about something urgent. Can I come in?" He stepped aside, and she entered. His quarters were small but neat. Pictures of Earth covered one wall. A home he had not seen in 2 years. "Danny, I need to ask you something, and I need you to understand what it means before you answer." She explained everything. The dying warrior. The poison. The only possible treatment. The risk to his health. The political implications. She laid it all out honestly. When she finished, Danny was quiet for a long moment. "If I do this, will he live?" he asked. "I think so. Maybe. I can't promise anything, and if I don't, he dies. And probably a lot of other people die too, eventually." Danny nodded slowly. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "When I joined the exploration service, I knew the risks," he said. "I knew I might die out here, far from home. I always hoped that if it happened, it would be for something important." He turned to face her. "This is important. Danny, you need to understand. This is not a small donation. I will need to take a." Danny followed Katie back to the medical bay. The Krithian warriors watched them enter with expressionless faces. Katie wondered what they were thinking. Did they understand what was about to happen? Did they care? She guided Danny to a bed next to the dying commander. Jenny had already prepared the equipment. Katie had spent the walk back explaining the procedure to Danny, making sure he understood every step. "This will take many hours," she said, as she helped him onto the bed. "We cannot just transfer your blood directly to him. His body would reject it. I need to process each unit, modify it to match his biology, then introduce it slowly." Danny nodded. He looked calm, but Katie could see his hands shaking slightly. Fear was natural. She would have been worried if he showed no fear at all. "I will monitor you constantly," she continued. "If your vitals drop too far, I will stop. Your safety is important too. Do what you need to do, doctor." Katie inserted the needle into Danny's arm. His blood began flowing into the collection system. At the same time, she started the processing unit. This machine would take his blood, separate the components, enhance the enzyme levels, and prepare it for Crithian biology. The first unit took 20 minutes to process. Katie checked and rechecked the modified blood before introducing it into Zarthok's system. She started with a small amount, watching carefully for rejection. The warrior's body accepted it. His vital signs showed a tiny improvement. It was working. "We continue," Katie said to Jenny. The hours crawled past. Katie worked without stopping, her attention split between both patients. Danny's color began to fade as his body was drained. She gave him fluids and supplements, trying to help his body cope with the loss. By the 4th hour, Danny was visibly weak. His voice had grown soft. But when Katie asked if he wanted to stop, he shook his head. "Keep going." The Crithian warriors had been silent until now. "This human gives his blood freely?" he asked. "Yes." "Why?" Katie looked up from her work. "Because someone needs it. That's reason enough for us." The warrior stared at Danny for a long moment. Then he placed his fist over his chest in what Katie recognized as a Crithian salute. The other warriors did the same. By the 8th hour, Zarthok's condition had stabilized. The poison was still there, but the enzymes from Danny's blood were breaking it down. Katie allowed herself a moment of hope. This might actually work, but Danny was struggling. He had given more blood than any human should survive losing. His blood pressure was dangerously low. His heart rate was erratic. Katie increased the fluids and added medications to support his cardiovascular system. "Danny, talk to me. How do you feel?" "Tired," he whispered. "Really tired. You need to stay awake. Can you do that?" "I'll try." Katie checked Zarthok again. The warrior's 3 hearts were beating stronger. The gray color was leaving his skin. He was improving rapidly now, but he still needed more. The poison was deeply embedded in his system. She made a calculation. 3 more units. 3 more units of processed blood would give him enough enzymes to eliminate the remaining poison. But 3 more units might kill Danny. Katie stood between the 2 beds, frozen by the choice. Save the alien commander and risk killing Danny? Or stop now and watch Zarthok slowly die? She looked at Danny. His eyes were closed. He looked so pale, so fragile. But even now, his lips moved slightly. She leaned close to hear. "Keep going," he breathed. "Finish it." Katie felt tears sting her eyes. She blinked them away. This was not the time for emotion. This was the time for precision and skill. She returned to work. The 9th unit, the 10th, the 11th. Danny's eyes remained closed now. His breathing was shallow. His vital signs dropped further with each unit. Katie prepared emergency equipment, ready to resuscitate him, if necessary. The 12th unit began processing. Zarthok's eyes suddenly opened. The warrior took a deep, strong breath. His hand moved, reaching up to touch his chest. He was awake. "What has happened?" His voice was rough but strong. "You were poisoned," Katie said, not looking away from her work. "I am treating you. Please remain still." Zarthok turned his head and saw Danny on the next bed. He saw the tubes, the blood processing equipment, the monitors showing Danny's failing vitals. "That is human blood," he said. "Yes." "From him?" "Yes." "All of it?" "Yes." Zarthok tried to sit up, but his body was not ready. He fell back with a grunt. How much has he given? Enough to save you. Now please. I need to concentrate. The 12th unit finished processing. Katie checked it carefully, then introduced it into Zarthok's system. She watched the monitors. The poison levels dropped. The toxic compounds began breaking apart. The warrior's 3 hearts beat steadily, strongly. He would live. Katie turned immediately to Danny. His blood pressure was critical. His heart rate was far too slow. She began emergency procedures, injecting stimulants, adjusting fluids, working desperately to stabilize him. Jenny, prepare the crash cart, she ordered. Is he dying? Zarthok asked from his bed. I'm trying to prevent that. Please be quiet. For 30 minutes, Katie fought to save Danny's life. She had saved the alien warrior. But at what cost? She refused to let Danny die. She refused to accept that price. Slowly, very slowly, Danny's vitals began to improve. The stimulants took effect. His blood pressure rose slightly. His heart found a steadier rhythm. Katie allowed herself to breathe. He was not out of danger, but he was stable. She set up monitors to watch him constantly, then finally allowed herself to sit down. Her hands were shaking. Her back ached. She had been standing for 14 hours straight. Zarthok was watching her. You are exhausted. I'm fine. You saved my life. I did my job, using his blood. He volunteered? Yes. Knowing it might kill him? Yes. The warrior was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke in his own language. Words Katie did not understand. The other Krithians responded, their voices low and respectful. What did you say? Katie asked. I said that today I have seen true courage. Not the courage of battle, but the courage of sacrifice. Your species surprises me, healer. Katie stood and checked Danny's monitors again. His condition was holding steady. She adjusted his medications and made sure he was comfortable. In my culture, Zarthok continued, there is a concept we call blood brother. It is the highest bond between warriors. When one saves another's life in battle, they become connected by blood and honor. That's interesting, Katie said, only half listening. Most of her attention was on Danny. This human has given me his blood, his actual blood. It flows in my veins now, keeping me alive. Do you understand what this means? It means you're lucky we have compatible biology. It means more than that, much more. Zarthok tried to sit up again. This time, he succeeded, though Katie could see it. Cost him effort. What is his name? Danny Chen. Danny Chen. Zarthok repeated the name carefully. I am now in his debt, a debt I can never fully repay. Katie finally turned to face the warrior fully. The best way to repay him is to recover and help maintain peace between our peoples. That's what he wanted. That's why he did this. To prevent war? Yes. Zarthok looked at Danny with an expression Katie could not quite read. He gave his blood, risked his life, to save someone he has never met. From a species not his own. To prevent a war that might not even happen. Zarthok shook his head slowly. We Krithians pride ourselves on our honor and courage. But this is something beyond what I have known. Jenny brought Katie a report. The latest blood analysis showed the poison was breaking down rapidly. Zarthok would make a full recovery. You need to rest too, Jenny said quietly. You've been working for 14 hours. I need to monitor Danny. I can do that. You trained me well. Get some sleep, or you'll collapse. Katie wanted to argue, but she knew Jenny was right. She was exhausted. She could barely stand. Call me immediately if anything changes with either patient, she ordered. Katie woke 6 hours later to her communication device, beeping urgently. She grabbed it, her heart racing. Had something happened to Danny? Dr. Morrison. This is Jenny. Both patients are stable, but Commander Zarthok is asking to speak with you. He says it's important. Katie dressed quickly and rushed to the medical bay. When she arrived, she found Zarthok sitting up in bed, looking much stronger than before. His skin had returned to its normal, dark blue color. His eyes were clear and alert. Danny was still sleeping in the next bed. His monitors showed improvement, though he remained weak. "You wish to speak with me?" Katie asked. "Yes. Sit, please. This will take time." Katie pulled up a chair, though sitting felt strange. She was used to standing, moving, doing. But something in Zarthok's tone made her comply. "First, I must thank you properly," the warrior began. "You saved my life using methods I do not understand. You worked for many hours without rest. This is the action of a true healer. I was just doing my job." "No." Zarthok's voice was firm. "You went beyond duty. You took a great risk. The procedure could have failed. Both of us could have died. But you tried anyway." Katie glanced at Danny. "He's the one who took the real risk." "Yes. And that is what I must discuss with you." Zarthok leaned forward. "You are human, so you do not understand Krithian culture. Let me explain something to you." He gestured to the other warriors who still stood guard in the room. "These soldiers have followed me for 10 years. We have fought 20 battles together. I have bled with them. They have bled with me. We are bound by combat and shared danger." Katie nodded, not sure where this was going. But what Danny Chen did goes beyond combat bonds. He gave his own blood, freely, knowing it might kill him. His blood now flows in my veins. It keeps my hearts beating. It gave me life when I had none. "The enzymes in his blood neutralize the poison," Katie said. "It's just biology. To you, perhaps. To my people, it is sacred." Zarthok touched his chest. "In ancient times, before we conquered the stars, Krithian warriors who saved each other's lives would mix their blood in ceremony. They would become blood brothers, bound by the most sacred oath. This practice faded as we grew civilized, but the cultural memory remains." Katie began to understand. "You feel bound to him. I am bound to him. By the oldest laws of my people, by honor that transcends politics and war. Danny Chen is now my blood brother, and I am his. This bond cannot be broken. It is absolute." One of the other warriors spoke in their language. Zarthok responded, "My second-in-command says that word of this has already spread among Krithian military channels. My political enemies attempted to kill me with poison. They failed, because a human saved me. With human blood. The story grows more elaborate with each telling. But the core truth remains." "Is that a problem?" Katie asked, worried. "A problem?" "No, healer. It is an opportunity." Zarthok's expression was difficult to read, but Katie thought she saw satisfaction. "My enemies wanted me dead because I advocate for peace with your species. They believe humans are weak, unworthy of respect. But now I have proof they are wrong." He gestured to Danny. "This man gave his blood, nearly died, to save a warrior from a race that has threatened his people. He did this not for reward, not for glory, but because it was right. What greater courage exists than this?" Katie felt a chill run down her spine. She was beginning to see where this was leading. "You are going to use this politically." "I am going to tell the truth politically," Zarthok corrected. "And the truth is that humans possess something we Krithians have lost. You have not forgotten compassion. You have not forgotten that strength includes mercy. You will risk everything for strangers because your morals demand it." He stood, and despite his recent brush with death, he looked imposing. "The Krithian Empire is old. We have been warriors for so long that we have forgotten other ways to be strong. We mock species that show mercy as weak. We despise those who heal, rather than harm. But you have shown me that we are wrong." Katie stood as well. "Commander, I appreciate what you're saying, but please don't make this into something it isn't. Danny and I did what any decent people would do. We saw someone dying and tried to help. Exactly. What any decent people would do. But would any Crithian have done the same? Would any of my soldiers have given their blood to save a dying human? He looked at his warriors. Then what any what any decent people would do. But what any decent people would do. He looked at his warriors. They remained silent. I do not know. I hope they would. But I cannot be certain. One of the warriors, a female with scars across her face, spoke. Granted, I have fought beside you for 8 years. I would die for you. But would I have given my blood, hour after hour, knowing it might kill me, to save a human I never met? She paused. Before today, I would have said no. Now, I am not sure. This human has made me question what I believed. Zarthok nodded. And that is exactly why this matters. This is not just about saving my life. This is about showing my people that we must change. Katie sat back down. Her head was spinning. She had expected gratitude. Perhaps some formal thank you. She had not expected this. What are you going to do? She asked. First, I will recover. Then I will return to the homeworld and speak before the High Council. I will tell them what happened here. I will advocate for full alliance with humanity, for cultural exchange, for cooperation in medical research. They might not listen. They will listen. I am First Commander of the 7th Fleet. I hold the Star of Valor. I survived the Battle of Crimson Nebula. My voice carries weight. He smiled, an expression that looked strange on his alien features. And now I have proof. Human blood saved my life. How can they argue humans are weak when human blood is what kept their most decorated warrior alive? A soft sound made them both turn. Danny was waking. His eyes opened slowly, confused. Dr. Morrison? His voice was barely a whisper. Katie rushed to his side. Danny, you're awake. How do you feel? Like someone took all my blood. He tried to smile. Did it work? Is he alive? I am alive, Danny Chen. Because of you. Danny turned his head to see Zarthok standing beside his bed. The warrior looked down at him with an expression of deep respect. I am Commander Zarthok of the 7th Fleet. You saved my life. That's good, Danny said weakly. That was the plan. You nearly died doing it. Yeah, I feel that. Danny tried to sit up, but failed. Did I mess up my body permanently? Katie checked his vital signs. Too early to tell. You lost a dangerous amount of blood. Your body needs time to recover. It will be weeks, maybe months, before you're back to normal. And there might be some lasting effects. But I'm alive. Yes. Then it was worth it. Danny looked at Zarthok. Did we stop the war? The warrior tilted his head. What war? Dr. Morrison said if you died, there might be war. Did we prevent it? Zarthok was quiet for a moment. Then he knelt beside Danny's bed, bringing himself to eye level with the human. For a Crithian commander, this was an act of profound respect. Danny Chen, you did not just prevent a war. You may have changed the entire future of my species. You showed us what we have forgotten. You reminded us that true strength includes sacrifice for others. I just gave some blood. You gave your life force, freely, to a stranger who might have been your enemy. In my culture, this creates a bond that cannot be broken. You are now my blood brother. Your enemies are my enemies. Your needs are my needs. I am sworn to protect you and honor you for the rest of my days. Danny blinked. That seems like a lot for some blood. It is not just blood. It is what the blood represents. Zarthok stood. When I am recovered, I will return to the homeworld. I will tell the High Council what happened here. I will advocate for an alliance with humanity. And when they question whether humans deserve respect, I will show them the evidence. Under 10. With C. Under ride. What evidence? My life. Your courage. The fact that a species we dismissed as weak saved the life of our strongest warrior. Zarthok placed his fist over his chest. You have earned honor beyond measure, Danny Chen. And I will ensure the galaxy knows it. Katie watched this exchange with growing amazement. She had expected medical complications, paperwork, maybe some diplomatic thank yous. She had not expected this. Commander, she said carefully, what exactly are you planning? I am planning to reward those who saved me. You, Dr. Morrison, will receive access to Crithian medical archives. 10,000 years of research, techniques, technologies. You will be named Bloodkeeper, a title reserved for the greatest healers in our history. That's too much, Katie protested. It is barely enough. As for Danny Chen, he will receive wealth, status, and the eternal protection of the Crithian Empire. No enemy will harm him. No danger will touch him. He is blood brother to a Crithian commander, and that means something. Danny looked at Katie with wide eyes. Is he serious? I think he is. But I don't want to be famous or wealthy. I just wanted to help. Zarthok laughed, a deep sound that filled the room. Then you truly do not understand what you have done. You cannot choose whether to accept honor. Honor is given by others. You have earned it, whether you want it or not. Jenny appeared with food and medicine for both patients. Katie took the opportunity to step back and think. Everything was moving so fast. One desperate medical procedure. And now they were talking about changing the future of two species. But as she watched Zarthok and Danny talking, the warrior explaining Crithian culture while Danny listened with confused interest, Katie realized something important. This was not just about politics or rewards. This was about connection. Two very different beings, finding common ground through an act of compassion. Maybe that was what the galaxy needed. Not more treaties or trade agreements, but simple human kindness extended across species lines. Dr. Morrison, Zarthok called to her. When can I travel? 3 weeks passed before Danny was strong enough to travel. In that time, Zarthok made a full recovery and used every moment to plan. He sent messages to the Crithian homeworld, spoke with his political allies, and prepared for what he called the most important speech of his life. Katie watched the preparations with mixed feelings. She was proud of what they had accomplished, but worried about the attention it would bring. She was a doctor, not a diplomat. She preferred the quiet work of healing to the noise of politics, but she had no choice. When Zarthok requested that both she and Danny accompany him to the homeworld, the human government agreed immediately. This was too important to refuse. The day they departed, Katie helped Danny into the shuttle. He walked slowly, still weak, but improving each day. His blood counts were rising. His strength was returning. He would recover fully, though it would take months. Are you nervous? She asked him, as they settled into their seats. Terrified, Danny admitted. I've never been to an alien world, and now I'm going as some kind of honored guest. What if I mess it up? You won't. Just be yourself. That's what impressed them in the first place. The journey to the Crithian homeworld took 2 days. Zarthok spent much of that time teaching them about his culture, explaining what to expect, how to behave, what different gestures meant. It was overwhelming. When they finally arrived, Katie pressed her face to the window and stared. The Crithian homeworld was beautiful in a harsh way. Red mountains rose into purple skies. Cities of dark stone spread across the landscape like networks of fortresses. Everything looked strong, built to last forever. The shuttle landed at what Zarthok called the Hall of Warriors, a massive structure where the High Council met. Thousands of Crithians had gathered outside. When Katie and Danny emerged, the crowd fell silent. They are observing you, Zarthok explained quietly. They have heard the story. Now they want to see if it is true. Katie felt their eyes on her like physical weight. She forced herself to stand straight, to walk calmly, even though her heart raced. Beside her, Danny looked pale but determined. Inside the hall, they were taken to a waiting room. Zarthok left them there, while he went to speak with the council first. Katie and Danny sat in silence, both too nervous to talk much. "I keep thinking about that night," Danny said finally. "When you asked me to give blood, I didn't really understand what would happen. I just knew it was the right thing to do." "Do you regret it?" "No. I'm just amazed it led to this. All I did was lie on a table and let you take my blood. You did the real work." Katie shook her head. "We both did what we had to do. Neither of us could have done it alone." Before Danny could respond, the door opened. A Crithian warrior gestured for them to follow. They walked through corridors lined with battle standards and ancient weapons. Everything spoke of a culture built on warfare and honor. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of Crithians sat in rising tiers around a central floor. At the highest point sat 9 figures in elaborate armor. The High Council. Zarthok stood in the center, waiting. When Katie and Danny entered, he gestured for them to stand beside him. One of the council members, an ancient warrior with silver markings on his armor, spoke. "These are the humans?" "They are, Elder Kren, Dr. Katie Morrison, and pilot Danny Chen." The council members studied them with intense interest. Katie could feel their assessment, their curiosity, their skepticism. "Zarthok has told us a remarkable story," Elder Kren continued. "He claims that humans possess medical knowledge beyond our own. That human blood saved his life. That one human nearly died to give this blood freely. We find this difficult to believe." "It is all true, Elder," Zarthok said firmly. "Perhaps. But extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof." The Elder gestured. "Dr. Morrison, explain to this council exactly what you did." Katie took a deep breath. She had prepared for this. For the next 20 minutes, she explained the procedure in detail. The poison's mechanism, the enzyme theory, the risks involved, the way she had modified Danny's blood to work with Crithian biology. The council members listened in silence. When she finished, several of them spoke among themselves in their own language. Finally, another council member spoke. This one was female, younger than Elder Kren but no less imposing. "If what you say is true, you possess medical knowledge that could benefit both our species. Why share it with us?" Katie thought carefully before answering. "Because healing shouldn't have boundaries. Because knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. Because if we can save lives together, why wouldn't we?" "Why?" The female council member tilted her head. "You do not ask for payment? For technology in exchange? For political advantage?" "I didn't think about any of that. I just thought about saving a life." "She speaks truth," Zarthok interjected. "I have observed humans carefully these past weeks. They do not think as we do. They measure success not in territory conquered or enemies defeated, but in lives saved and suffering reduced. It is alien to us, but it is genuine." Elder Kren looked at Danny. "And you, Pilot Chen, you nearly died giving your blood. What did you hope to gain?" Danny straightened. Katie could see him trembling slightly, but his voice was steady. "I didn't hope to gain anything, Elder. I hoped to prevent loss. Loss of Commander Zarthok's life. Loss of peace between our peoples. Sometimes you act not for what you get, but for what you prevent." The council chamber was silent. Then Elder Kren did something unexpected. He stood and descended from his high seat, walking down to the central floor. He approached Danny and looked at him for a long moment. "You are smaller than our warriors, weaker in body. Yet you displayed courage that shames many who sit in this chamber. You faced death to save an enemy, who might one day have become an ally. This is wisdom beyond your years." He turned to address the full council. "I have lived for 90 cycles. I have seen 1,000 warriors display bravery in battle. But this is something different. This is the courage of conviction, the strength to sacrifice for principle rather than glory. Another council member stood. Then another. Soon the entire council was standing, and the hundreds of Crithians in the chamber rose with them. It was a gesture of respect, Zarthok had explained, reserved for the greatest warriors and heroes. Katie felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them away. This was too much. Too overwhelming. Elder Kren returned to his seat. The High Council has debated the question of human alliance for many cycles. Some argue humans are too weak to be worthy partners. Others claim humans are too unpredictable, too emotional. But today, we have seen proof that humans possess qualities we have long dismissed. He looked directly at Katie and Danny. Compassion is not weakness. Mercy is not foolishness. Sacrifice for others is not stupidity. These are strengths we Crithians have forgotten in our pursuit of military dominance. You have reminded us of what we have lost. Known. The elder raised his hand, and a subordinate brought forward a black box. The council has decided. We offer humanity full alliance status. We will share technology, protect human space, and establish cultural exchange programs. We do this not out of charity, but out of respect. Zarthok stepped forward. And I have personal rewards to bestow, with the council's permission. Granted. Zarthok turned to Katie. Dr. Katie Morrison. You are named Bloodkeeper, a title given to only 12 individuals in our entire history. You will have access to the Crithian medical archives, containing 10,000 years of research. You will be welcome in any Crithian medical facility. You will be honored as a master healer. He held out a medallion of dark metal, engraved with symbols Katie didn't recognize. She took it with shaking hands. Then Zarthok turned to Danny. Danny Chen, you are named Blood Brother of the Empire. You are under the protection of the Crithian military. Any who harm you will answer to me personally. More than this, you have earned wealth beyond your imagining. Another subordinate brought forward a datapad. Zarthok handed it to Danny. This contains the deed to Mining Colony 7, located in the Outer Reach. It is rich in rare minerals worth billions in your currency. It is now yours. To do with, as you wish. Danny stared at the datapad like it might explode. I can't accept this. It's too much. You can, and you will. I am commander of the 7th Fleet. I control this territory. I choose to give it to you. You may refuse many things, Danny Chen, but you cannot refuse honor freely given. The ceremony continued for another hour. Speeches were made. Formal documents were signed. Katie and Danny were paraded before the assembled Crithians, who watched them with a mixture of curiosity and respect. By the time they returned to the waiting room, Katie was exhausted. She collapsed into a chair. Did that really just happen? Danny asked, sitting beside her. I think so. I'm still processing it. They gave me a mining colony, an entire colony. I don't even know what to do with a mining colony. Katie laughed despite her exhaustion. I have access to 10,000 years of alien medical research. I don't know where to even start. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Danny spoke quietly. You know what's funny? I joined the exploration service because I wanted adventure. I wanted to see the stars, discover new things. I never imagined I'd end up here, being honored by aliens, given wealth I never asked for. Life is strange like that. Dr. Morrison, Danny Chen. A Crithian assistant entered. Commander Zarthok invites you to a private dinner. He wishes to discuss the future. They followed the assistant through the massive building to a smaller room. Zarthok Way. 6 months after the ceremony on the Crithian homeworld, Katie stood in her new research laboratory on Earth. The facility was unlike anything she had imagined. 3 floors of advanced equipment, both human and Crithian technology working side by side. She held a datapad showing the latest results. 3 diseases that had plagued humanity for generations now had cures. 3 more, were close to being solved. All because of the knowledge shared in the Crithian medical archives. Her assistant, a young doctor named Lisa Park, approached with more test results. The regenerative treatment worked on the third trial patient, Lisa said excitedly. Her nerve damage is healing. In a few months, she'll walk again. Katie smiled. Send the full report to the Crithian research team. They'll want to know. Their technique works on humans. Already done. They responded an hour ago with congratulations. Katie walked to the window. Outside, she could see the city. Somewhere out there were people who would live because of this work. Children who would not lose parents to disease. Families who would stay whole. That was what mattered. Her communication device beeped. A video call. From Danny. She accepted it. Danny appeared on the screen, looking healthy and energetic. The pale weakness from 6 months ago was gone. He had recovered fully. Just as she predicted. Hey, Dr. Morrison, got a minute? For you, always. How's the colony? Growing faster than I expected. We've got representatives from 6 different species now. The mining operation is profitable, but that's almost secondary to what's happening here. Danny's image shifted as he walked, showing her views of the colony. Buildings of different architectural styles stood side by side. Beings of various shapes and sizes moved through the streets. I used some of the profits to build a medical center, Danny continued. Following your example, we've got human doctors, Crithian healers, even a few Zentari physicians. They're learning from each other. Tenstari. That's wonderful, Danny. There's more. I want to establish a foundation. Something focused on peaceful first contact and cross-species medical research. I was hoping you'd be willing to serve on the board. Katie felt warmth spread through her chest. I'd be honored. Great. I'll send you the details. Oh. And Zarthok says hello. He's here for a few days, inspecting the facilities. Tell him I said hello back. After the call ended, Katie returned to her work. She had a meeting in an hour with the Nobel Committee. They wanted to discuss her nomination for the prize in medicine. It felt surreal. A year ago, she had been a ship's doctor on a small exploration vessel. Now she was changing the face of medicine, but she tried not to let it go to her head. The work was what mattered, not the recognition. Her thoughts were interrupted by an emergency alert. A message from the human colony on New Plymouth. A plague had broken out. Hundreds were sick. The local medical facilities were overwhelmed. Katie immediately began organizing a response. She contacted her team, prepared supplies, arranged transport. This was what she had trained for. This was what all the research and technology was meant to accomplish. She was coordinating the supply shipment when another message came through. This one was from Zarthok himself. Dr. Morrison, I have heard of the plague on New Plymouth. The 7th Fleet is in nearby space. We can be there in 2 days, with full medical support. Do you accept our assistance? Katie felt her throat tighten. She typed her response quickly. Yes, Commander. Thank you. Every hour matters. Then we leave immediately. This is what blood brothers do. We help when help is needed. 2 days later, Katie arrived at New Plymouth to find a Crithian medical ship already in orbit. She shuttled down to the colony to find the situation under control. Crithian healers worked alongside human doctors, using combined knowledge to fight the plague. She found Zarthok in the temporary medical facility, observing the work with satisfaction. Commander, you came personally. Of course. You saved my life. Humans are now allies. When allies suffer, we respond. He gestured to the busy medical bay. Besides, my healers learn much working with yours. It benefits us both. Katie watched a Crithian healer gently treating a sick child. The warrior species she once feared now showed remarkable compassion. Perhaps they had always been capable of it. Perhaps they just needed an example to follow. The plague is contained, Zarthok continued. We used a technique from the medical archives, combined with human immunology. Together, We solved in 2 days what might have taken weeks alone. This is what I hoped for, Katie said softly. Not just sharing technology, but truly working together. Over the next few days, Katie worked alongside the Crithian healers. She taught them human techniques. They taught her Crithian methods. The exchange was invaluable. One evening, as the crisis was ending, Zarthok invited Katie to dinner on his ship. They sat in his quarters, eating simple food and talking. "Do you remember that night?" Zarthok asked. "When you performed the transfusion?" "Every detail. I was terrified it wouldn't work. I woke during the procedure, pale and weak. I saw you working desperately to save both of us. In that moment, I understood something about your species." "What?" "That you fight, not just in battle, but against death itself. You refuse to accept loss. You will exhaust yourself, risk everything, to save one life. It is beautiful and terrifying in equal measure." Katie sipped her drink. "I think any decent being would do the same. Perhaps. But I was not certain before. Now, I am." Zarthok stood and walked to the window. Outside, the stars shone bright. "My people have been warriors for so long. We forgot that the greatest victory is not conquest, but preservation. You reminded us. Ever. When quote. And you've taken that lesson to heart. Look what you've done here. A full medical fleet, responding to a human crisis. 6 months ago. Would this have happened? No. 6 months ago, I would have sent a polite message, expressing concern. Now I come myself with everything I can offer. You changed me, Dr. Morrison. You and Danny Chen. You showed me a better way." Katie joined him at the window. "It's not about better or worse. It's about combining strengths. You have technology and resources. We have techniques and approaches you've never considered. Together, we're more than either of us alone. This is why the alliance will succeed. Not because of treaties or trade agreements, but because of moments like this. Real cooperation. Real friendship." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Katie thought about the long path that had led here. One emergency call. One desperate request to Danny. One unprecedented medical procedure. And now, 6 months later, the galaxy was changing. Her communication device beeped. A message from Earth. The plague cure had been successful. 0 deaths. Full recovery expected for all patients. It was the outcome she had hoped for, but hardly dared expect. "Good news?" Zarthok asked. "The best. Everyone will survive. Because humans and Crithians work together. This is how it should be." Katie returned to Earth a week later. She immediately scheduled a meeting with Danny to discuss his foundation. They met at his colony, which had grown even more in the short time since they last spoke. "I want to call it the Chen Morrison Foundation," Danny said as they walked through the new medical center. "No. Just the Chen Foundation. This is your dream. Our dream. You inspired it. Without what you did, none of this exists." They compromised on the Bridge Foundation, named for Zarthok's speech about building bridges between species. Over the next few months, the foundation grew. They funded research projects combining knowledge from multiple species. They trained doctors in cross-species medicine. They established protocols for peaceful first contact. Katie found herself traveling constantly. One week, she was on Earth, teaching at the new Human Crithian Medical Academy. The next, she was on a Crithian research station, studying advanced healing techniques. Then she was at Danny's colony, consulting on a new hospital wing. It was exhausting, but fulfilling. She was making a real difference, touching lives across multiple worlds. One day, a year after the transfusion, Katie received an unexpected message. It was from a human colony she had never heard of, located far from central space. They had been attacked by raiders. Many were injured. Their medical facilities were destroyed. Katie immediately contacted Zarthok. Within hours, a combined human-Crithian relief force was on the way. But Katie went ahead on a fast ship, unable to wait. When she arrived, the devastation shocked her. Buildings destroyed. People hurt and frightened. The local doctor was overwhelmed, doing his best with limited supplies. Katie rolled up her sleeves and got to work. She treated the injured, organized the healthy survivors, prepared for the arrival of more help. When Zarthok arrived, he brought not just medical supplies but engineers to rebuild. Other species, hearing of the crisis through Danny's network, sent aid as well. Within days, the colony was recovering. The colony's leader, an older man named Peter Walsh, thanked Katie personally. "A year ago, if we'd been attacked, we would have been on our own," he said. "Earth was too far away. No one would have come. But now, help arrives from multiple species." "How did this happen?" Katie smiled. "It started with one person willing to give blood to save a stranger. It grew from there. It grew. One person changed all this? One person started it. But many people chose to continue it. That's what makes it real." As Katie prepared to leave the colony, she reflected on the past year. She had been nominated for the Nobel Prize and would likely win. She had access to knowledge that was revolutionizing medicine. She was respected across multiple species. But more than any of that, she had been part of something meaningful. She had helped build bridges. She had proven that different species could work together. She had shown that compassion was not weakness, but strength. Her last stop before returning to Earth was Danny's colony. She found him in the Foundation headquarters, reviewing grant applications. "Look at this," Danny said, showing her his screen. 50 research proposals this month. Projects studying everything from cross-species disease to cultural psychology. All because we gave people resources and permission to explore. You've built something amazing here. We built it. You, me, Zarthok. Everyone who believed cooperation was better than conflict." They walked outside. The colony had grown to a small city now. Multiple species lived and worked together. Children of different races played in the parks. It was a glimpse of what the galaxy could become. "Do you ever think about that night?" Danny asked. "When Dr. Morrison asked you to give blood?" Katie laughed. "You're talking to Dr. Morrison." "Oh, right. I meant when you asked me." Danny grinned. "Sometimes. I still can't believe I said yes. I was so scared. But you did it anyway. Because it was right. And look where it led." Danny gestured to the thriving colony around them. "Sometimes I think about all the lives that have been saved because of what we did. The diseases cured, the conflicts avoided. It's overwhelming. But we didn't do it for recognition. We did it because someone needed help. And that's why it worked. If we'd been thinking about rewards or fame, we would have hesitated. We would have calculated costs and benefits. Instead, we just acted." Katie nodded. "That's humanity's gift, I think. We can see beyond immediate self-interest. We can sacrifice for abstract principles like fairness and compassion. Other species can too, of course. But we've made it central to who we are. This. Well, Redmonds." A Crithian ship appeared in the sky, descending toward the landing pad. Zarthok had arrived for another visit. Danny and Katie walked to meet him. The warrior commander had changed over the past year. He smiled more easily now. He spoke of peace as readily as he once spoke of war. The transfusion had given him life, but the friendship that followed had given him purpose. "My friends." Zarthok greeted them warmly. "I bring news. The High Council has approved the expansion of the Medical Academy. We will train 500 students from 10 different species next year. The demand is overwhelming." "That's wonderful," Katie said. "More than wonderful. It is necessary." The galaxy grows more connected every day. We need healers who understand multiple species, who can work across cultural boundaries. You have shown us this is possible. They spent the evening together, three unlikely friends brought together by crisis and bound together by choice. They talked about the future, about new projects, about the challenges still ahead. As the night ended, Katie looked at her companions. A human pilot, who became a philanthropist. A warrior commander, who became a peacemaker. A ship's doctor, who became a pioneer of cross-species medicine. None of them had sought these roles. They had simply done what seemed right in the moment. And that one choice, made in good faith, had rippled outward, changing lives across the galaxy. "Thank you," Katie said suddenly. "For what?" Danny asked. "For saying yes that night. For trusting me. For being willing to risk everything. For a stranger." Danny shrugged. "Thank you for asking. For giving me the chance to do something that mattered." Zarthok placed a hand on each of their shoulders. "Thank you both for showing me that there is more to strength than violence, that the greatest warriors are those who fight against death itself, not those who deal it most efficiently." They stood together, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, a human child was learning to walk again, thanks to Krithian healing techniques. Somewhere, a Krithian soldier was being saved by a human doctor, using skills learned from the medical archives. Somewhere, species that had been enemies were learning to work together, all because one woman asked one man to give blood to save an alien warrior. And because both of them believed that doing the right thing mattered more than the cost. That was humanity's true gift to the galaxy. Not superior technology, not military might, but the simple, radical belief that every life was worth saving, regardless of where it came from, and the willingness to sacrifice everything to make that belief real. Katie Morrison had given Danny Chen's blood to an alien warrior, and she had been rewarded beyond belief. But the real reward was not the Nobel Prize, or the technology, or the recognition. The real reward was standing here, with friends from different worlds, knowing they had made the galaxy a little bit better, a little bit kinder, a little bit more connected. That was worth more than all the wealth and honor in the universe. Ted there with food and drink prepared. "Sit, please. We have much to discuss." Over dinner, Zarthok explained his plans. The alliance would begin slowly. Cultural exchanges first, then technology sharing, then joint ventures. Katie would work with Krithian medical researchers. Danny's mining colony would become a neutral ground where different species could meet and trade. "This is the beginning," Zarthok said. "What started with one act of compassion will grow into something that changes the galaxy. You gave me life, and I will use that life to build bridges between our peoples." Katie raised her glass. "To bridges, and to the hope that more people will choose compassion over conflict." They drank together, human and Krithian, bound by blood and by choice. Outside, the two suns of the Krithian homeworld set in a blaze of purple and gold. Tomorrow, they would begin the real work. But tonight, they celebrated what they had accomplished. Three unlikely people, brought together by crisis, had changed the future for billions. Not for several days. You need rest and observation. And Danny Chen? Weeks, at minimum. Then we have time to plan properly. Zarthok settled back into his bed. This will be done correctly. The whole galaxy will know what happened here. They will understand that humanity is not to be dismissed. Katie exchanged a look with Danny. He still looked confused, overwhelmed. But he also looked peaceful, like he had no regrets. That was all that mattered, Katie thought. They had done the right thing, and somehow, incredibly, it was leading to something bigger than either of them imagined. "I will." Katie took one last look at Danny. He looked peaceful now, sleeping deeply. His color was still too pale, but he was alive. That was what mattered. She left the medical bay and made her way to her quarters. But before she could sleep, she needed to file a report. The captain needed to know what had happened. As she wrote, she realized the full weight of what they had done. They had performed an unprecedented medical procedure. They had saved a Crithian commander using human blood. The implications were enormous. This was not just a medical success. This was proof that humans and Crithians were compatible on a biological level. This was proof that cooperation between their species was possible in ways no one had imagined. Katie finished the report and sent it. Then she finally allowed herself to collapse into bed. Her last thought before sleep took her was of Danny, giving his blood freely, asking for nothing in return. That was humanity at its best, she thought. That was what made them special. A lot of blood. More than is safe. I understand. You could die. I understand that too. He smiled slightly. But if my blood can stop a war, then you have to take it. That's not even a choice, Doctor. That's just what has to happen. Katie felt her throat tighten. She had known Danny for 6 months. In that time, she had learned he was reliable, skilled, and friendly. But this was different. This was courage of a kind she rarely saw. Okay, she said. We need to start now. He doesn't have much time left.